this is your first video that you're seeing with me, hi, welcome. Hi you guys, welcome back. I have been AWOL pretty much the past 2 months. I haven't really been posting at all, actually. I've kind of just been MIA because I've been kind of going through a lot of changes. That's kind of why I made this video today. I didn't really have a lot of time to post, and I actually do want to get back on like posting and everything. I want to just have fun with it and like see where it goes. I have been like very much posting more on TikTok. That's where I've really been active more than anything. It's where I've been sharing a lot of like my fashion design journey. However, I actually wanted to talk to you guys about that today. Sorry, I'm like trying to eat breakfast at the same time too. I'm currently eating oatmeal with blueberries and like dark chocolate and peanut butter. It's high protein oatmeal though, so that's what I love about it. I realized I was not happy with the career I was in because I've just been going through so many life changes. I mean, I also know that I'm going through my Saturn return. I recently just decided to make a career shift. I am no longer going to be pursuing fashion design as a career because I realized I just was not happy in this career. I could tell that I was pretty much trying to create content on fashion design because it's what I knew. It's like what I knew how to do. It's what I felt comfortable in. It's basically like it was basically just me like taking what I know and I was just sharing it, but only because of that, and also too because I felt like I was kind of obligated to stay on the path and to kind of prove something to my family. I think it's taking me this long to finally realize this was not the path that I'm meant to be taking. It's kind of scary, but also it also feels freeing to acknowledge that I'm taking charge of my life and changing things. I've been questioning my career and where I am in life just in general. So it has definitely felt very anxiety ridden, and like there's just been a lot of imposter syndrome that I've been dealing with, spiraling, and also dealing with a lot of loneliness too and a little bit of guilt. Like I have honestly just been spiraling over still living at home. The reason why is because it's a toxic environment. So like yes, I'm still with my family and I'm grateful that I have the privilege of living at home and not having to pay rent, but it is damaging my mental health. And I think that's the downside. If you don't have a supportive relationship with your parents, I feel like that's the downside of still living at home. And on top of that, I have also been spiraling about unemployment. I mean, like I need money and I'm trying to like get creative of like how I want to pursue like creating income for myself. I'm actually like taking steps forward to like look at stuff, but it does still get overwhelming. It gets overwhelming because, you know, at the end of the day, there is still that pressure. And so not only that, but like it has been a little bit lonely because I haven't had money to go out. So it's like I can only do so much. Going back to my career, I tried launching 2 businesses. I launched one clothing brand in 2021 and then I launched another clothing brand in 2024. They both failed, but I learned a lot. And I realized I didn't want to just run a store at the time. And so then that's when I completely shifted back to fashion design. I started to focus on that, and then that's when I started pursuing content creation. So I like that it lined up together. I pretty much realized that the only reason why I was pursuing this career was because it was just something that it was like a tool that I had to be able to just start putting myself out there. I realized I pretty much just didn't want to continue to do it anymore, if that makes sense. And it takes a while for me to kind of like come to that conclusion. I remember when I switched careers the first time, the way that I was able to make my decision was because I realized I just didn't like the class that I was taking. So then I was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me. And it was a biology class. And basically because I realized that the class just wasn't for me, that's when I was like, yeah, no, this life is not for me. Like, I'm not even engaged. I was kind of looking at those same patterns like of behavior that I was like, I'm not as engaged as I think I am. It just looked like, yes, I was showing up and posting the content and making the videos and everything, and I was doing the project, but it looked like I was just, that's all I was doing, but in like I wasn't really fully immersed. There was a completely different tone, and I could tell that I was trying my best to kind of revive that feeling that I had, but it just wasn't working. But it has just been really, really hard, I think, because when you're at 28, you don't expect yourself to kind of like be still figuring things out, but you are. And I don't know if anyone else in their late 20s can relate to that. I didn't think I'd be switching careers at 28, but here I am. It has been interesting, but to some extent, I feel like I'm free because now I can finally ask myself, like, what is it that I want to focus on? Like, I do know what I want to focus on. I've kind of always known I wanted to be like a lifestyle creator, but like I don't just want to do like a day in the life and get ready with me or things like that, or like beauty stuff. I want to make it more healing focused, like lifestyle and healing focused specifically, because I feel like that just kind of has always been like my thing. And also like creativity, like I want to mix those three together. I also love art journaling. Like I have been doing this, but this is my second time doing it. The first time I did it was the summer before I switched careers in college, the summer before my sophomore year. I did a book and I completed it, and I remember I had so much fun because that's all I was doing, nothing else. And I was just like immersing myself in the creative prompt, and it was really cool because I think that's when I tapped into my creativity a lot. And then come my junior year of college, that's when I finally had made the switch to design. I started to focus on fashion, and I also that's when I started to get into like crafts and things like that. Because besides sewing, I'm also a crafty girl. Like I was over there making Disney ears. I was just making little stockings. I was doing paint by number. I was doing coloring books for fun. I was like just doing a lot of things that I was just like, yeah, like that was me. And I think to some extent I was enjoying that a little bit more, the actual like design part. However, I did enjoy the sewing part. I'm not gonna lie, the sewing part was actually always fun for me. I am going to be coming back to sewing. I don't know about design, maybe later on, but it's probably gonna be in a different way. I'm not sure yet. I don't know what this next chapter is gonna hold for me. I guess the like feeling of like starting over, it just like makes you feel, wow, like I really don't have it all together. And it's taking me some time to kind of like accept that that's okay, like not needing to know everything. It can feel like we're behind, or like everyone else is just getting it and not me. And I constantly feel that way. I feel like many of us can just fall into that trap of like constantly either comparing it to someone else's like day 100 of where they're at. I have honestly just always just kind of had this like pressure on my career, and to some extent I think I kind of just felt pressured to continue going at it, because in a way like I kind of felt like I had nothing to show for it. That's kind of the reason why I was like, okay, well I just have to keep going. I just have to keep going. But I wasn't really like having fun, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm going on a tangent here. I feel like I just wasn't having fun doing it anymore. It felt more like pressure. Honestly, for me, like I've always just been someone that like has wanted for things just to happen like fast and right away. The reality is things don't happen that way at all. It took me 28 years to learn and to accept that. I realized that real authentic change takes time. It doesn't happen fast. You know, you do have to build a stable foundation, which is so important. Sometimes being behind is okay because that means that you're just taking your time. You know, you're going to be building a better and stable, solid foundation, one that truly feels like you. Sometimes we need to take time to explore who we are as individuals, because maybe there's things that we haven't uncovered about ourselves yet. I like to see it that way, that like it's a journey. It's a journey of layers. Coffee made. Now that I've shifted careers, I kind of wanted to start focusing on taking care of myself more. So that was something I was not doing with this career at all. I was putting myself on the back burner completely. It's okay to decide to change careers, you know, in your late 20s, because the reality is we change and we evolve and we grow as people. And it's bound to happen, especially if it's not resonating with who you're growing into anymore. I guess it just doesn't matter, even if you've been doing it for 10 years. I was in fashion design for 10 years. It took 10 years for me to realize that like I kind of had stopped doing it because I wanted to, and I started doing it out of obligation. And also too because it was just something that I studied in college, which I had mentioned before that I had stuck with it because it was what I knew. So I even went the whole content route, only to realize like, oh, this is not really what I want to be known for. And just because you did study it in college, that doesn't mean that you have to stick with it. You are allowed to change your mind. And I think that's something that we have to start normalizing too, is that there's not one career path that like defines us forever. You know, there are many different paths that we can take in life. And it's all really going to depend on who we're growing into. It's really never too late to start, especially in your late 20s. Everyone has like this like rhetoric that by 30 you need to have it all figured out. But like, I'm literally turning 29. I do not have it figured out. I'm still living at home. I'm unemployed right now. I am figuring it out. Like, I am in the trenches figuring it out. I pretty much started to question this career path, honestly, in 2023. That's when it started to kind of come up for me. And I was honestly questioning it was still something that I wanted to do, because it was in 2023 when I started to plan my business that I launched in 2024. And throughout the entire process, I could tell I was not feeling it. I was not passionate about what I was doing. I felt burnt out. I was just trying to rush things, and I was just trying to get it done because that's kind of like how I was conditioned to work, especially in design, like with all the rushed deadlines, all the all-nighters and everything that I pulled in college. I basically ended up repeating that same cycle while I built both businesses. I ended up repeating that same burnout cycle, and it just wasn't healthy for me. And after I had launched that business, I realized I was burnt out because I was tired, and I was like, this is not sustainable. And on top of that, I didn't make any sales. So that to me was kind of like a wake-up call. This is not right. Like, this shouldn't be happening. I realized I was kind of jumping the ship a little bit in terms of launching a business, and I didn't really understand what it meant to actually launch a business, like the process of it. During that time, I was still like thinking like, oh, if I launch a business and then I announce it, like I'll get tons of sales. No. What I didn't realize at the time was that I needed to build a personal brand. I needed to build a personal brand that was aligned with the business that I would be launching. I didn't realize I did not have the community. I did not have the support. I did not have the credibility to be able to just launch a business like that. I learned my lesson, backtracked. I started working full time, and I allowed myself to just kind of like figure out like, okay, like what I wanted to do. I even played around with the idea of going back to school. I did not. And while I was working full time, that's when I realized I was like, okay, well, let me go back to design, because that was the fun part. It was design, not actually like selling clothes like as a store. But basically, I just started working on projects again because I knew that that's where my focus was going to be. I didn't really get to share a lot on social media about it, but I did work on a few projects. And I started TikTok, and then I started YouTube. I ended up falling into this like cycle of burnout because it just was not sustainable for me. I was doing way too much. I was trying to get a video out every week, and I could not do that, especially with such a hands-on field. I could not get a lot of videos out. I was struggling to get videos out, and I noticed that like I just wasn't enjoying the process of dealing with the fact that I kind of had to like wait and show as I go. I realized I needed to develop a better system, but this is actually kind of when I started to question my career again, because I'm just like performing out of pressure and it's not feeling fun. I mean, like, yeah, like I was allowing myself to create, but it was different. And I thought that by leaning into like what made fashion design fun, by leaning into fairy tale fashion, because that's what I really loved in college, I thought that that was gonna like fix everything. It didn't. Because if anything, I felt a little bit more disconnected than ever. But what finally made me make the change was that when I was planning out a YouTube video last week, I was like really getting into the topic, and I was planning it out, And I pretty much realized I felt so disconnected from what I was creating in that moment. I literally asked myself, do I really want to be known for talking about this? Because in my head, I was like, I could go so much deeper. And I'm not saying that fashion design isn't deep, because it 1000% is. I feel like design is all about emotions, expressing your emotions through the art of clothing. However, for me, I feel like I had more to say than what I was saying in that video. That's when I started to question if this is really what I wanted to be known for. And the topic of the video was encouraging designers to step into their point of view and to allow themselves to embrace it. I really had to sit there like calmly, and I was like, is this really what I want to be known for? And it didn't even come out of fear, anxiety, or anything. I was literally just planning out the video, and it just kind of calmly came up for me. I did not feel like I was resonating with it at all. I don't think that this is what I'm meant to be doing. The following day, really, that's when I made the switch, and we're here now. And the thing is, when it's your intuition, whereas when it's fear, you're mainly going to be anxious, or you're going to be worried. It's going to be very much more mental energy. You're going to be freaking out. But when it's your intuition, it just comes calmly to you. That's what that kind of felt like for me in that moment. It just calmly came to me. I don't think that I should stay in a career that I'm not happy in, but also too, I didn't realize it had became something that I felt like I was obligated to continue to do. This is what I went to school for, and if I don't, then I'm gonna career wise, I would say my path is the path that I'm deciding to take is just very, very untraditional. I mean, I had already taken an untraditional path. This one's a little bit more untraditional now. I think to some extent I was clinging onto this because it was familiar, because I had already built a path. When I decided to choose to switch careers, I realized I was just clinging so hard to this career because I didn't want to look like I failed or I quit. And so all these thoughts were running through my head. On social media, it looks like I've been doing it for less, but I've actually been doing it for so long. I just didn't share it for most of the time. It's going through this. It's you're not just grieving a career or a life you thought you were gonna have. You're grieving a whole old identity. You're grieving the letting go of the cost that went into it, because a lot of time, money, and energy did go into fashion design. I actually haven't told my family yet, but the reason why I'm also I haven't told them yet, honestly, because I didn't want to look like I failed. I can kind of hear my mom telling me see, there you go, there goes the money, time, and energy that we invested, and that's just not the thing that I need to hear right now. That's why I'm working up to telling them. That's definitely not the response that I want to hear. I have to say the moment that she decided to help me fund my senior collection, but when I was graduating, because I had to design the senior collection, I think that really to some extent it almost kind of created this debt, and where I kind of felt like I owed her now. That was another reason why I stayed in this path for such a long time, is because I felt like I needed to repay her back for how she helped me. But I think there's just kind of been this I owe you energy that's been tied into my career ever since I graduated. And I think that's just something that comes with being a first gen, is especially in the immigrant family. It's the guilt and the weight of that responsibility. And so you just kind of feel obligated to continue the path that you're on. That's kind of what made me kind of go yeah, no, I don't think I should stay here. I definitely need to go and venture out on my own, and I need to decide what I want. And I need to start putting my own needs first, because I can't continue to put my family's needs or other people's needs above my own. Honestly, I realized I had outgrown the path, and that's okay. It just wasn't fun anymore. I was procrastinating on the projects that I was excited about. I was feeling drained. I would feel the spark, but it'll come back in the most unrelated ways. And I think that was another thing that I probably should have paid attention to. But I feel when it's something that you truly want to do, I think to some extent you're going to show up, even if it's not with the same intensity that day that you feel tired. But it's just something that like I feel like you're able to overcome it when it's with something you want to do versus that's when it's with something that you don't want to do. I think there's a bit of resistance there. I kind of feel like now I can just make time for myself, which I kind of wasn't doing when I was pursuing fashion design. I'm going back to the gym, I'm taking care of myself and the food that I'm eating. I like to put myself on the back burner a lot, and I don't think that that's a stable foundation to build a career on, because that's pretty much what I was building this career off of, me sacrificing myself for the work, and I was not getting anywhere. And so I realized that that's not the way to build something. And honestly, pivoting now, like that just means that we're growing. I think I've resisted becoming a cozy lifestyle creator because I feel like it didn't match my idea of success that was ingrained in me. Like, it didn't match that, and so I thought, yeah, that it was gonna be like a downgrade. It was just kind of like what was instilled in me through like the media and like outside influences, and so like this like perceived notion of what success is, that it's very fast and like you have to work very hard and like you're gonna be at the very top, and it's like, but it was all like through this like hustle mentality. And so for me, I could tell that as life went on, as I grew up, like I stopped resonating with that at some point. Now I'm just like finally willing to accept it and to be like, okay, like this isn't for me. It can be overwhelming, especially for me. I know it is for me. I do not handle change very well. It could take some time to get used to. And not only that, but especially if like changing careers is like not the only change they're going through, that in itself that can begin to pack on, and it can get very overwhelming. When you see starting over as kind of like an opportunity to do something new or to try something new, I think that's when like everything kind of shifts, because then you're just like, okay, well, I have this opportunity right now. What can I do that I haven't been able to do in the past? And I think when it comes to like things like switching career or just pretty much ending anything, I think people feel guilty for walking away, but then they also feel excited for like this new path of what's ahead. And that's something that I'm currently going through. It's like I do feel guilty, but also at the same time, the only reason why I feel guilty is because I feel like I'm letting the people that had expectations of me down. That's pretty much what it is. And honestly, I'm just like learning, like, oh, like there's a whole way of building a steady foundation, especially when it comes to like career. I just did not have that with fashion design. I built it solely on pressure and performance, pretty much, because I went to school for it. And so that's where my foundation was built. It wasn't built before then. When you build a foundation like that, it can get overwhelming, and you can start conforming to perfectionism and wanting to perform all the time and wanting to prove yourself, because that was something I also felt like I had to do. I had to prove myself, not only like with my work, but each and every single time I felt like I had to prove myself, or I had to like kind of fight for like my recognition. But one thing I did realize is that you have to take care of yourself no matter what, especially when you're building something, because the way that you take care of yourself determines how you're going to take care of your business. Because if you're not taking care of your needs, like as an individual, the foundation that you're building in the outside world, it's going to be faulty. It's not going to be steady. If those systems are like completely chaotic, meaning you're getting poor sleep, you don't have any boundaries set in place, no boundaries at work, and things like that, constant self-doubt, just like not taking care of yourself, that all is going to come up in whatever you decide to build. And I do just want to say that like healing is part of the process when it comes to changing careers. And I feel like that's what I'm being called to focus on right now too, is just healing my nervous system, myself, and my energy, and just making sure that I'm doing okay. So I'm not just working on myself health wise, but I'm also trying to work on myself spiritually and mentally, and making sure that I'm okay and I'm not constantly feeling drained, or I'm not constantly continuing to get myself into these cycles of burnout. In this new chapter, I'm actually taking the time to go on this self-discovery journey again, especially like as a creative. After putting myself through so much pressure, I'm going on a self-discovery journey. I'm going to be starting a book. It's a 12-week journey. I am hoping that it helps me kind of reconnect with that inner child of mine who's like creative because she just wanted to be. I'm going to end the video right here. But this one's coming out on today's the 11th. This video will come out on the 16th.